Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Preet Bharara, and I'm the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York. It is my honor and privilege to welcome the Attorney General of the United States to the nation's capital. Seriously, I want to thank the Attorney General for his ongoing support of our work here in New York, his support of our efforts in the important and consequential terrorism trial that concluded last week, but also all of our cases, including the criminal case against Toyota, the guilty verdicts against 5 Madoff co-conspirators, the Second Circuit's upholding of the insider trading conviction of Rajat Gupta, and civil rights charges filed last week against a Rikers Island corrections officer in the death of an inmate. It's been quite a couple of weeks here in the Southern District, and these are all important cases. Throughout, the Attorney General and the Department have been supportive of all of our efforts, but especially in the prosecution of international terrorists who have tried to kill Americans, harm American interests, and have not only targeted this country, but put a bullseye on this very city. But I know that the Attorney General recognizes, as I do, that the real credit goes to the dedicated career prosecutors and agents who toil every day on behalf of their only client, the United States, to achieve justice. That's why the Attorney General is here today. A short while ago, he met with the trial team in the prosecution of Suleiman Abu Ghaith, not just to congratulate them on the outcome, but to express his appreciation for all of the hard work that preceded it. As you all know, Suleiman Abu Ghaith arrived in the United States to face American justice on March 1, 2013, and in barely over a year was tried and convicted and faces a possible life sentence for conspiring to provide and actually providing material support to al-Qaeda and also conspiring to kill Americans. We have heard, I can tell you already, from a number of 9/11 families who have expressed gratitude and relief that justice was done in this case. The track record of this office in terrorism cases is one marked by professionalism and success, and that record speaks for itself. Every time this office is called upon to prosecute an accused terrorist, we stand ready to do what is needed to obtain justice and protect Americans, as we do in all of our prosecutions. Our country expects and deserves justice that is swift and true, and that is what the men and women of this office have accomplished time and time again. These results are due, of course, in no small measure, to the quality and expertise of our court and to the courage and tenacity of our Joint Terrorism Task Force, which I believe includes the best FBI office and the best police department in the nation. This record of success long preceded my tenure as U.S. Attorney and will continue long after I'm gone. And the American people should be as proud of their work as the Attorney General and I are. And now I'm pleased to introduce the 82nd Attorney General of the United States, Eric Holder.
Well, thank you, Preet. It's a privilege to join you here as always, and it's always a pleasure for me to be back home in the nation's capital. He's right, New York City. I was born in the Bronx, raised in Queens, so on that we are on the same page. I'm here today to thank this great U.S. Attorney and the entire prosecution team from the Southern District of New York and the counterterrorism section that secured last week's conviction of Suleiman Abu Ghaith, a senior member of al-Qaeda and a close associate of Osama bin Laden on terrorism-related charges. I was grateful for the opportunity to meet personally with several members of this team this afternoon who handled this important and high-profile case with characteristic professionalism and the skill that we have come to expect from the U.S. Attorney's Office here in Manhattan, the Southern District of New York. I applaud everyone who was involved in these proceedings for their exemplary work. I also want to recognize the FBI and the New York Police Department investigators who, as part of the Joint Terrorism Task Force here in New York, played a vital role in securing the outcome of this case. I also want to thank the U.S. Marshals Service, Mayor Bill de Blasio, and the residents of this great city, my city, for everything that they did to help make sure that Abu Ghaith would face justice for his actions right here in New York City. Now, I believe that it was eminently fitting that this defendant, who publicly gloated about the attacks on the World Trade Center, stood trial near where those buildings once stood, before a jury of New Yorkers, and in full view of many of those who lost loved ones in the attack. The verdict has proven beyond any doubt that proceedings such as these can safely occur in the city I am proud to call home, as in other locations across our great nation. For this and many other reasons, last week's conviction of Solomon Abu Ghaith in a federal civilian court marked the milestone in our government's unrelenting effort to pursue justice against al-Qaeda leaders and those involved in the attacks of September the 11th. This case further demonstrated the reality that bringing terrorists swiftly to justice is fully within the capabilities of our Article III court system. After all, by every measure, this case adhered to the highest standards of our criminal justice system. It was conducted fairly, professionally, and with the impeccable integrity that we expect from all of our investigators, federal prosecutors, and jury members as well. At the same time, it is hard to imagine this case being presented with greater efficiency or greater speed. As Preet said, the defendant was put on trial a little over a year after being captured. He was convicted on all 3 counts after roughly 6 hours of jury deliberations. Now, this shows that the pursuit of justice against terrorist defendants need not present an either-or choice between our values and our security. In recent years, the federal government has demonstrated great skill in apprehending foreign terror suspects, obtaining high-value intelligence from them, and then proceeding to pursue justice against them through our court system, either by way of guilty pleas or convictions after trials. While our military courts remain an appropriate venue in certain circumstances, decisions on how best to seek convictions against terrorism defendants must always be based on prosecutorial considerations and never on political ones. And when such considerations support a disposition in an Article III setting, we can have full confidence that our federal court system is equal to any challenge. Since the attacks of September the 11th, the Department of Justice has obtained hundreds of terrorism-related convictions in America's courtrooms. In fact, since 2009, we've achieved convictions against over 165 defendants for terrorism or terrorism-related charges in Article III courts. The system is both tried and tested. Its strength is founded on more than 2 centuries of rigorous precedent and deep experience. And so we will continue to rely on it. Abu Ghaith was not the first individual to be convicted in federal court for his role in terrorist activities, and he will not be the last. It is my strong belief that this outcome has vindicated the government's approach to terrorism-related cases, and it would be good for our justice system and for our nation if last week's verdict can finally help to put to rest this long debate that we have had. The bottom line is that no amount of distance or time can shield those individuals who seek to harm our citizens from being held accountable to the fullest extent of the law. And no defendant can shake the fundamental pillars of the greatest justice system that the world has ever known. No individual or group can erode our trust in the institutions that we have painstakingly built, or the principles of justice and accountability under the law that have always been among this nation's finest achievements. For anyone in this country or around the world who ever doubted that the United States system of justice was equal to even the toughest task, let them look to this trial and let them look to this result. So once again, I want to thank the entire Southern District of New York team, and I think Preet and I will be happy to take a few questions from you at this point.
Are you going to bring Khalid Sheikh Mohammed here next? Is there any prospects of doing that ever?
Well, you know, the determination that I made based on recommendations from the lawyers here in the Southern District of New York, as well as prosecutors from the Eastern District of Virginia, was to bring that case here in the Southern District. The time has passed for that determination. I think the decision that I announced at that time was a correct one. Many of the problems that we're now seeing in the military commissions were predicted in the papers that I reviewed and helped shape my decision. But that is the decision that has been made to move the case, and I think it is, this is not a decision that we are going to revisit.
Hi, Gilad Taylor, CBS News. Do you have a response to the Senate Intelligence Committee report?
Well, it's a classified document. I don't want to talk about it in public. I don't think this would be an appropriate place to discuss it.
Since it's unusual that we get the two of you together on a different topic, you made a speech yesterday talking about the importance of prosecuting corporations and saying the pendulum is swung too far against that. Mr. Attorney General, you've talked in the past about the collateral consequences of prosecuting corporations. Can you two reconcile those? Is there distance between you, and do the guidelines for prosecuting corporations need to be adjusted?
There's no distance between us.
I mean, I think I've been saying the same thing for a long time, and I think that the Attorney General and I have always said the same thing on this issue, and including what I said yesterday. And I said yesterday something that I've said repeatedly, and that is that no one should get a get-out-of-jail-free card simply because they're very large, and you don't want to add that moral hazard to the mix of moral hazards that are already out there. And it's a dangerous thing to say that you have immunity simply because you're big, because that causes people to push the envelope and beyond. So it may be the case that in particular circumstances, it is not appropriate to bring a criminal case against a business organization, but there may be cases where there are. And part of the point I was making yesterday is that, you know, over time, based on the experience of this office and my personal experience dealing with various business executives and their counsel in case after case, they make projections of doom about what will happen, even if there's a deferred prosecution agreement that concludes the case. And those projections and predictions tend to be exaggerated and wrong. And we're taking that into account as we think about what the proper dispositions are for future cases. And so obviously, every case, whether you're talking about an individual or a corporation or a business organization, depends on the facts and circumstances of that case. And sometimes it's the case that you bring charges against individuals. Sometimes it's the case that it's appropriate to bring charges against individuals and the company, as we did in the case of SAC Capital. We did both. And sometimes it's the case that you bring a civil action. And sometimes it's the case that you have a deferred prosecution agreement. It depends on what the circumstances are. And the only point I was making yesterday, and I've made, you know, throughout the last few years, is why would you take one particular tool out of your toolbox? It depends on what the circumstances are. And sometimes the circumstances require an actual prosecution against a company.
Yeah, and I would say that, you know, what Preet said, and I think was very well said. And I've had a chance to review the remarks that he made, and I think I'm 100% in agreement. So there really, I kidded about it, but there really is no distance between us, no space between us. His view of when you use a particular tool or what a particular result is and the factors that go into making those kinds of determinations are exactly how I view these matters as well.
Mr. Attorney General, there's been some back and forth between the Southern District and the District of New Jersey as it relates to the investigation into officials surrounding Governor Christie and the Ridge Lane closure. Can you comment on that back and forth and how that played out publicly with the subpoena being issued, withdrawn, and reissued? And also, could you comment on criticism that's been out there that the District of New Jersey might not be best situated to investigate this matter, given that Chris Christie himself ran that office, many of the people in that office are appointees of his, been promoted by him, people who may not have liked him. Can you comment on those 2 points, please?
Well, I mean, I would say that with regard to the issue that you described, that from my perspective was not a big deal. It was something that was worked out between this office, the office in New Jersey, between Preet and Paul Fishman. And with regard to the office there, I would say that, you know, they're fully capable of investigating all that has been referred to them. We've got a great U.S. attorney there, a very capable staff of career lawyers who will decide these cases, or whatever cases they are considering, on the basis of the facts and the law. I have full confidence in their ability to do an appropriate job.
Mr. Attorney General, can you please talk about Jonathan Pollard, convicted felon, and your thoughts about an early release of Pollard and what that kind of message that would give to the legal community?
Well, I don't want to comment other than to say that he was convicted, as we all know, of espionage. He is presently serving a sentence, and I'll pretty much leave it at that.
Can I just add another question to that? But the potential decision to release Pollard, if it in fact does happen, which was called a serious mistake by the head of the House Intelligence Committee today, if they do release him, doesn't that send a message that it puts other politically charged prisoners on the table in other future negotiations?
Well, again, that's a hypothetical. I don't want to deal with hypotheticals. As I've said, we'll see what happens.
Mr. Attorney General, you mentioned earlier that,
Senator Menendez has been under criminal investigation, and there are allegations he contacted State Department and Homeland Security officials regarding William and Roberto Isaias. I was wondering if anyone in the Justice Department was contacted, and I'm also wondering why the Isaias brothers were convicted in their home country and are facing many allegations here, are still have been allowed to stay in the U.S.
Want me to take that?
I'm unaware of any contacts of the nature of which you have described with the Justice Department, and I'm not sure I'd be prepared to respond any further than that.
Thank you, everyone.